Well, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about the trust that's being eroded in the digital world, and then basically why that's so important in the extended ecosystem that you have in the airline industry, how that's accentuated and grows over time. I'm Matt Brzezinski. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management for Ping Identity, and I want to walk you through what's going on in the industry. So before I get started, the first place I'd like to talk about is some stats that says, why should this matter? And in the past year, the percentage of breaches that have been through a third party has doubled. Now, if you ask me, it seems like only yesterday that you had the first big breach through a third party, which was a Target retailer in the US. But that yesterday was 2013, and that explains how long this has been going on. Another thing to think about is 98% of organizations are partnering with an organization that has been breached. And if it's not their direct partner, it's their partner's partners. And that means everybody is susceptible and exposed to this type of an attack. And you can't talk about third-party breaches without mentioning Scattered Spider. Scattered Spider has been all over the news and things that have been going on, and they have infiltrated at least 100 companies out there in the industry. And what has Scattered Spider been able to do? You know, Scattered Spider is a scary, scary concept, scary name, but it has a lot of scary ramifications as well. And if you think about it, the most recent one is the worst of them all. JLR, the car manufacturer, has made the news recently. They've got infiltrated by Scattered Spider. They have been shut down from making cars for over a month. And to put that into perspective, every month that they don't make cars, they lose 75 million pounds in revenue. That's a lot of revenue. But since it's an extended ecosystem, just like the aviation world, that impacts down the line. There's 250,000 employees across their distributors and their suppliers that are getting ready to get furloughed because JLR is not buying parts anymore. It was so bad that the UK government backed a $1.5 billion loan to the JLR so they can continue to pay their suppliers and their distributors so that when they're ready to make cars again, those businesses are still operating and that they didn't have to go out of business. So Scattered Spider is a really dangerous and really costly type of breach. And how does that work? What is Scattered Spider doing? What they do is they find accounts, usually in your partners, usually in the third parties, where security controls aren't as rigid, security controls aren't in place as well. And they go find an account that isn't being used. And they go out and they do a whole bunch of social media research, LinkedIn, find enough information to be able to convince a help desk employee that they are that person and get the credentials reset. And so why is it attacking the help desk is so easy? Well, the first thing is it's in the name. Help desk employees there to help you. They're told the quicker we can get somebody back online, the more business they can do, the more efficient we need to be. So they're there to help you. They're there to get employees working again. The second reason it's so effective is that they're only measured on how many tickets they close and how long it takes them to close them. So their goal is to close as many tickets. And a lot of these help desks, they're farmed out, they're third parties, they're overseas, they're English or whatever language isn't their first language, and the cultural implications are massive. So the help desk is an easy target for cyber attackers to go after. So the obvious thing here is if third parties are dangerous and your help desk is dangerous, let's just get rid of third parties. Let's just get rid of all our partners. That's what an AI agent would do. If you said, here's my problem, it would say, just get rid of your partners, right? But you can't. Not in today's world, especially not in aviation. You need your partners to be able to function. You need your caterers, you need your ground crew, you need your fuel systems, you need all of your partners to make it all work. So you just can't do that. And if you look at the extended ecosystem, it gets complex. It goes from your partners out to your partners' partners, and then their partners, right? You could go on for infinity almost for how many partners you're going to run into, third, fourth, fifth, six-party partners. And as we just saw in Heathrow 3 weeks ago, if one of those partners has an issue, like the boarding pass system of one of those digital boarding pass systems had an issue, planes don't fly. Freight don't get moved, and it ripples all the way through the travel ecosystem to the fact that rental car companies have cancellations and hotels have empty rooms, all because one little organization had an issue. I heard yesterday an interesting stat. A small company of $7 million in revenue had an issue and it created a $70 million problem. That's 10x. So when you think about it, you need to really think about everybody in your ecosystem and how they can impact. So what you have now is a trust gap. And that trust gap is about you as an organization. Can you actually identify everybody who comes in to your system? Can you account for all of your partners, all your external identities? Should you trust a partner as much as a consumer? Well, I think you should trust a partner more because they can do more damage. But do you trust that partner as much as your employee? A lot of times we don't, but also a lot of times partners have just as much power as an employee to cause problems. So you really need to think about how do you do that. And so what we kind of think about is you need to move from this concept of just easy, simple authentication to a verified trust organization and a verified trust model. Right now, it's very easy to take over somebody's account. If you picked up my phone and you somehow got my PIN right, which is only 6 digits, so it's really not that hard, and you have my password manager and you go to log in someplace, you have my password, you have my device, you're authenticated. Really simple. You need to move to a verified trusted model. Something that's anti-phishing, you can't spoof it, AI can't be a deep fake. You need to be able to associate that authentication not to a device, but to a human. No one wants to be that poor guy in Hong Kong who was on a Zoom call where he was the only real person on the call. He thought he was talking to the CEO, the CTO, and the CFO, and they convinced him to move $25 million into a fraudulent account. No one wants to have that happen. So that's why verified trust is so important. And how do we deliver verified trust? We bring together technologies that have been working in separate silos. We bring identity security, which identity management companies like Ping Identity have been doing for a very long time. We bring in identity fraud signals that usually sit in the cyber team, but they're moving into the identity team, so we bring those in. And then lastly, we bring in identity assurance. So that what we're able to do is validate an actual human against their government ID with a selfie biometric. We heard a lot about biometrics in the last session. And then take that biometric and put it on their phone in a digital credential. We've all heard about digital credentials and digital wallets. We can put that biometric on that phone, so every time they authenticate, every time they do a Face ID, it's not what's enrolled on the phone, it's what we put in that digital credential. And so where can you use that? Well, there's a few places you can use that. First, new hiring. I mean, who here loved COVID? I certainly did, because you could interview anywhere in the world without pants on, right? True story. And what happened was a lot of people took advantage of this. 100 organizations in the US hired North Korean spies, not knowing that. We had employment fraud from one of our customers, where consulting agencies were sending in highly qualified consultants to interview for a position, then they send in a lower cost, lower qualified consultant to do the job. This is all happening because you're interviewing via Zoom, not going to a building, no one's checking your ID, everybody just assumed you were the right person. So you get verified onboarding, you're able to bring people in the correct way. Obviously, this can work in the help desk as well, because the easiest way to identify somebody is not through a Zoom call, those can be faked, not through knowledge-based authentication, asking questions, because that can all be found out via AI. It's to do a verified authentication against a known, validated biometric credential. And so you can have your help desk agent push a button, start an authentication, and they can't proceed until that authentication's done. And so that's really good for your help desk. It takes all the pressure off those guys and girls to reset passwords, because you can't convince them to do it until you go through the verification. But the interesting thing is, by 2029, 80% of all service interactions will be handled without human intervention. That means AI agents are going to be on your help desk. And so that makes this question, can you really trust an AI agent as much as you trust a human? And one of the problems with AI agents, much like a help desk employee, AI agents are programmed to give answers. They're programmed to give answers even if they don't know what the answer is. That's where you get these AI hallucinations, where they just make something up. So in some ways, AI agents are more fallible and easier to spoof than humans. The other thing is that AI agents can be bribed. We found this out during Christmas time when ChatGPT kept giving smaller and shorter answers. If you would say, I'll give you $200 to give me a better answer, it would do that. And so AI agents can be bribed, and they'll have access to a ton of data. You don't want to be the first company to be bribed, to be breached by a bribed AI agent that has too much access to your data. So if you think about it, a help desk agent sits here and it needs to access a bunch of different data repositories in the back end, whether that's your customer list, your employee list, your financial records, all these different things an AI help desk agent could have access to. But what you want to do is you want to deploy a system that says you don't have access to them when you don't need them. Only when you get somebody showing up that you don't know, you still don't have access to them. You have to go out and do a verified authentication. Once that verified authentication occurs, then you grant that AI agent just the access it needs to do that job for just the shortest period of time possible. The big thing we have to worry about with AI and AI agents is them having access to too much data and too much information. But the help desk is one thing. AI agents offer great opportunities as well. And you're going to see this coming down the line with your business partners, with your customers, and along those lines. Gartner analysts said organizations are going to be forced to choose how they want to deal with AI agents. Are they going to allow their third party, their business partner agents to come into their organization? Are they only going to allow them to interact with their own agents? And this is going to be an important decision, not just for security, but for business operations and for business and for growth of business. So you can see agents can be used for a lot of great things. They could be used to reroute canceled planes. They can be used for catering. Everybody's going to have personal agents. Their third parties are going to have that. And they're going to have a lot of access, and they're going to be able to do a lot of things. They can create a lot of value. But if you have a bad agent or an agent with too many permissions or the wrong identity, it can wreak havoc in a massive scale. It can do this much faster than create value, and it'll be catastrophic. So when you think about your third-party agents, you're going to have a really complicated looking infrastructure. You're going to have your humans talking to their agents. You're going to have your agents talking to their agents. You could possibly even have their agents inside your own infrastructure, operating like some of the humans do today. So you have to really think about it. So in conclusion, this whole trust on the line and how do you verify trust for humans and AI agents? A couple things. First, make sure you do a verified trust for all your identities, your employees, your partners, your customers, and your agents. And then just like Paul Revere warned the colonists that the British were coming, I'm here to tell you the AI agents are coming. The AI agents are coming. Be prepared. Have some best practices. You have to make sure you identify those agents and push them down a secure agentic flow. You need to identify those agents. Don't allow them to use a human ID. Give them their own ID and assign a human to them to authorize what they're allowed to do. Only give them access for the very short period of time and keep that human in the loop whenever they're doing something that's very risky. So I'll leave you with this. In business, there's no award for second place. Organizations are going to have to adopt the use of AI agents. And the organizations that do adopt them in the most efficient and secure way are going to win. It's going to be the next wave of commerce. This is where you're going to see the next wave of superstar companies come out, the ones that are secure and adopt AI agents the best. With that, I'm going to say thank you. If you want to know anything else, please come see us at our booth over by Track 2 and Pavilion 1. Have a great day.